I'm Chase.
And I'm Timothy.
And this is Customer Service.
It's Tuesday. It's a balmy, 6 degrees outside?
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. This is the thing. Here's the thing. I am now ready for summer.
You got a weird vibe today.
Wait, how so?
I don't know. Since I walked in, I felt like you just got a funny
really?
energy today. Yeah.
Oh,
it's not bad. It's just different.
I think that I'm a little scrambled. I had to work from day home yesterday.
Work from day home. Yeah, I think you're a little scrambled. We've been trying to do work. We can't keep you in the damn office. You're all over the place.
Yeah, we got a bunch of stuff delivered. I thought it was in addition to product we already got delivered earlier this morning. I had a work from home day yesterday, but then coming in today didn't go as planned. We just got on top, started talking about something else that we have coming on, which we'll be able to tease here in the next couple months.
A collab is imminent.
A collab is imminent, and we'll talk about that more as the time comes. But I'm very excited about that. It's something that we've had cooking now for quite a while. In fact, it was even discussed like maybe we'll do it last year, and we decided there's too much shit going on. We're going to push it. So that is imminent. I'm very excited, personally, which I will will disclose as time gets nearer. But yeah, dude, I don't know. I just like it's more like it's like a frantic energy. You know what I mean? Like not in.
But why?
Just want to. There's like a lot of things that if I could do this and I gotta organize this.
No one needs me telling them to settle down.
Yeah, I know.
You gotta know.
like if you're like, hey, dude, it's fine. Like, yeah. But I mean, yeah, dude. Other than that, I mean, it's all good. I feel happy. I'm stoked. We got a lot of work to do. I'm stoked on it. We're on a fun period of time now where we'll start getting all of our product. Yeah, but I am ready for it to be summertime, dog. I wanted to talk to you about the cold. You don't have to do any sort of. You're not outside shoveling your driveway. Like all of that happens within the complex.
Men come and do it.
Yeah, that's
great.
Men come and do it.
Mm-hmm.
Tight.
Not me. I just watch them from inside.
Yeah.
I went to the grocery store to pick up some non-essential items, and I stopped and got a coffee, and I walked to do it just to.
Oh, beautiful! Yeah,
just to do it.
It's fun. You know? Yeah.
But I didn't need to do that.
We geared up on. Sunday, which I really love because. Don't get me wrong, it's cold, but like this is like kind of normal where we're from. Certainly, like a block and a half from off Lake Erie. I feel like it's under 10 for like a month or two. You know what I mean? But we got geared up on Sunday to go to Whole Foods, put on all the warmest shit. I'm wearing my LL Bean boots today. Really like that. That felt like a real special little fun treat. But I like winter when there's snow.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm muted right now. That's okay. Oh, okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, I just noticed I was.
I've got my shit
It said you're muted. I'm like, if I start talking, I don't want to do this again.
Hey, shout out Cole. He is obviously now handling all the audio and producing and this, that, and the other. We've heard a couple of nice comments from people saying that the mics are so crisp, clean, and the silences are dead silent, which is nice.
We got rid of the
underwater
squeaking around, so you guys don't have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah. That's about it, dude. It's cold. What'd you get into this weekend? Let's do a little catch up.
I mean, dude, it was like, it's like negative degrees or whatever, so we didn't do anything. And then like we're still like recovering from being a little under the weather. Abby somehow got more. Abby and Gia. I think I must have had it early, which is what I was complaining about on the last one. And then I thought I was on the tail end. I thought I was later than them. I think I was earlier than them.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like 90% of what we do is just sitting around. Oh, you know what? I did do one thing. Well, I didn't do anything. Abby did it. I found the thing though. So we've been looking since we lived in Chicago for I wanted a faux fireplace.
Yeah, like an electric one.
Yeah. So but I don't want it to like be on fire or anything because that's gross. And we found one that like it's like from the 60s. Like it's like avocado green. You know what I mean? It's like it's perfectly maintained, and it has like the logs. It's got like this thing that like spins so it looks like flames.
Sick.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it heats up.
Can you give me an idea of size? Oh, okay. It sits on the ground?
This is an audio podcast, but I also don't know what to tell you how big.
It sits on the ground. It's about the size of a third or fourth grader.
It's taller than Gia and wider than Gia. Does that help?
Yeah, well, I was going to say about a third or fourth grader.
It's about as wide as my dog, my dead dog Jeff, and about like a foot taller than Gia, maybe.
Fair enough.
How's that for you?
That paints a perfect picture.
You know what I'm talking about?
Luckily, I'm familiar with both of those individuals. So
And it's like nice because it's like it really does like warm up nicely, but it doesn't like make the whole thing hot or make you nervous or anything like that. It's just sort of like a little space heater.
Is there sound?
No, I mean it. You can hear it moving. You know what I mean? Because it does that little like roll thing and it lights up. But I can't believe like you can't ever find those things, especially like working and stuff. And we paid like $100 for it. We just had to drive 2 hours to get it and then 2 hours back, obviously, right before it started getting crazy. I didn't do it. I watched Gia. We, cleaned up the house and listened to music.
Hell yeah.
So we did that. Well, I didn't. I helped set it up, I guess, but it was just put it in a corner. Outside of that, nothing. Like I said, we walked and got non-essentials just to see how cold it was.
Yeah.
And we bundled up, but I don't have a winter jacket, like a proper one, like anything that's like.
Would you wear that one that we got from W.I.P a couple years ago?
No, I just put 100 layers on. You know what I mean? I just put that's honestly better to me in some. I know I can't move as much, but like I'm not skiing or anything like that.
No. Again, I talk about me and my buddy John got a Patagonia jacket. We pulled some sort of scam on some sort of.
Oh, here we go.
You know what I mean? And you know what? I think I actually paid for this when they had it on sale for like $150 or something. But I got a Patagonia jacket, and we were so fascinated by being able to walk to class with just a T-shirt underneath our jacket and just being like, he'd be like, "Peep what I got." And he
you've told me about this.
Yeah, and we were just so fascinated by like testing the limits of our jackets. But I'm with you, and like I had on 4 layers on my top today, but then I can take them off. I can, mix them and match them as I please throughout the day. But I'm with you. I also don't have a winter jacket. Yeah, that one I got from Goopy as well.
We got bundled up, but I don't even have gloves, so I had to like use a pair of like ones that are too big for Gia, so they didn't really fit over my hands. And and that was it. I mean, it was fine. I mean, it's cold, but it's not. Chicago's colder, so it's
don't get me wrong. It's fucking cold, and it's so much so we've tried like Leon. He'll get out there, and the other day he got kind of out in the middle of the yard, and Mishan said like it took him a minute to get back. I think his paws were literally freezing.
Yeah.
So now I have to, because the thing is he doesn't. I don't think he's understanding that it's cold, so it's hurting his paws. I think it just like he's like, why is it cold, or why do my paws hurt? So now I have to monitor him outside, and as soon as he's done doing his business, I'm like, get in here, dude. Like it's too cold for a little dog to be out there.
I used to have to lift Jeff up and down, and then the other thing is he's so stubborn. If it was cold outside, he'd just be like, I'm not going to the bathroom. I don't need to do that today. And then he just wouldn't do it. And we'd be like, you have to like,
dude,
you have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You can't just like decide you're not doing it. So I don't miss that aspect of the cold. But it's for the most part, we just stayed inside. I went and saw The Brutalist.
Yeah. What do you think?
I loved it. I've talked to the guys in Discord about it already. But
did you go see it, Cole?
No. It's for me now having that is like that was technically a 2024 release. That's my favorite movie of 2024, no question. Yeah, Adrian Brody is a marvel. He's really good in it. I've heard people there's 2 parts. So there's like the first part of the movie, and then there's a second part of the movie.
And they read as 2 separate movies, it kind of seems like, right?
Kind of. I mean, it's all part of the same story, but it's like, it's almost as if like it was like a part 1 and part 2 is really how it is. And there's like a 15-minute intermission in the middle, like where they turn the lights on the movie theater and you're expected to sort of like leave and come back. And it's great. I mean, because it's like a 3.5-hour runtime, and that doesn't include the intermission or like trailers or anything. So you're in there for like 4 hours.
You said you went this weekend?
Yeah.
You go for a night showing?
I went Thursday night.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
I really wanted to see it, so I was like, I'll make it happen on a Thursday to see it.
Oh, you know what I'm remembering because you showed me a photo. You tried to get to the Ravens.
Oh yeah.
Still the photo didn't do it justice. I just need to go see him in person.
You gotta go check them out, and they especially helpful if they're like if you go during the day. I usually go at night, so they're like in bed basically, and by in bed they just sort of stare at a wall.
Yeah,
and they're awake, but that seems to be how they chill.
Yeah. It's like that Nate Bargatze bit.
To be honest with you. So
it's like that Nate Bargatze bit where he jokes about showing up to his buddy's house and there's a dead horse in the front yard. So I'd be surprised if we don't touch that dead horse. But really, it's just the horse are just sleeping. Okay, sick. So you went and saw The Brutalist, and
yeah, it was really good. I really liked it. It's like a challenging movie in some ways, but like it's also like I just can't. It's so big. You know what I mean? It feels so big, which is nice when you go to the movies and it feels bigger than reality. You know what I mean? So it's really great. Cinematography is beautiful. I'll forgive a shitload for great cinematography, and it certainly has that. The score is awesome. The story I think was really
outfits.
great.
What do we think about the outfits?
Clothes are good.
Really?
They're really good. Yeah, there's some really. Adrian Brody has some gorgeous knitwear in this.
Really?
Like really, there's like one sweater in particular where he's back at his apartment in the second half of the movie. This would no more fit my body style than you'd have to be kind of Adrian Brody's build to fit it.
Which
And
is
I don't
like
think
rail
they make,
thin.
And they don't make sweaters like this anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's so unusual, but it was like so like chic and cool on
Sick,
him.
Yeah.
So that was that. Yeah, clothes were good. Yeah, whole movie is awesome. I mean,
Nice.
especially if you're interested in architecture or kind of the immigrant experience and why like architecture plays into that, or like any art really plays into that. It's amazing. I don't want to give too much away or anything, so I'm trying to be careful about like what I say or what I review because I know it's pretty newly out. But I strong recommend for me. But that's also like a movie sort of built for me, you know. So it's like, and like I said, great cinematography. I'll sort of like, I'm a big The Master supporter, which I know people don't love story wise, but I think I'll forgive a shitload because it's like such a beautifully shot movie.
Who's the fella?
Joaquin Phoenix, Philip Seymour Hoffman,
Yeah.
Amy, I forget her last name, Adams.
Oh, she's in that?
Mhm.
Oh, cool. I was going to jokingly say Adams.
You've never seen it? It's about like the
I
birth
think
of Scientology.
I think I started it, so I loosely.
I think you'd like it.
I can picture the aesthetic.
Actually, yeah. Really good. So I did that. Watched a couple other kind of like Oscar contenders. You know, A Real Pain. That was pretty good.
With the Culkin brother?
Yeah.
And Eisenberg? Yeah.
It's a nice, like, tight hour-and-a-half movie. Really well scripted. I like it a lot. I don't know about all the Oscar stuff that it's getting. It feels a little compared to others, but it's a weird movie year, so maybe that's, I don't know. But great script, great acting. I mean, they're kind of just both doing themselves, but they're doing it well. But I like a dialogue-driven movie, so it's good.
Yeah.
I thought I watched another one, but I can't remember what it was. So I did those things, painted a little bit, did normal shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Nice.
Pretty good.
Cool. Yeah, we didn't do much shit over.
What are you gonna do? It's
it
cold
was
outside.
so
It just
cold.
sort of sucks. There's nothing to really do besides mill around.
Hey,
know?
you reminded me of something. I'm sure I've said it on the pod, but I do think it's very funny that it's lived in my brain this long. You said a couple men come over and do the driveway and this and that. I think I said one time when I was really young, we were getting our upstairs bathroom remodeled. And so there was a couple of men in there yanking all the shit out. You know what I mean? And I watched this dude. The way that I remember it is like, you know, blue jeans, like a raggedy ass white t-shirt. And this dude took the countertop of our bathroom sink and I watched him yank it off in full, the full countertop, holding it. And he looks at me and he goes, "Brute strength, kid." And I just remember being like, fuck, dude.
I gotta get some of that.
So.
I gotta get some of that.
I guess so, dude.
Wow.
So anyway, that just reminded me. It's silly.
That
and
is
stupid,
the exact type of thing that Chase Brown would keep in his memory bank.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's like that has stuck with me for a long time. So
yeah. You know, I wanted to bring something up to see how you felt about this. Abby today quoted me time. You know, like I asked her, I said, "Do you know what time it is right now?" Because I didn't have my phone on me or anything, and I couldn't see the little clock we got. And she goes, "Oh, it's in the 40s."
Hey, what? I know what she's getting at.
Yeah,
is
that's
that
how she's keeping time. And
it was
9:40
something.
I died laughing. I'm like, that's how you think. Like when you're like,
It's in the 40s. Yeah,
I think it's in the 30s right now. And I was like, you know what? I hate it, but I kind of like it too.
Well, it works for Abby. I don't know why.
I think I'm gonna start thinking about time in this way now.
In the
like
40s.
if you're like, I want you to. We're going to be there around.
Well,
in the 30s.
Well, here's the thing: is
no specification.
I'm a snoozer in that my alarm goes off at 7:35 every morning. I snooze it until about 8:20, 8:30. That's just what I do.
Shocking thing you ever told me.
It's just how it goes, and I've been trying to will myself to get out of bed earlier. Today, I did get out 20 minutes earlier than I typically do.
What I don't understand is you're sleeping what feels like 14 hours a day.
You know, I used to think that it was weed. It's not. Even if weed isn't in the system, I can still sleep 14 hours, no problem. I don't feel like I sleep less in the summer. So what that tells me is not very seasonally depression driven. I just think I got it in me. And some people don't have that dog and I do.
You just need a tremendous amount of sleep to operate.
Yeah, which is that's you know
such a regular level.
I think it's
not
good.
Like you're like working out or doing anything.
Nope.
It's like I just don't understand why it needs so much time to recover, considering it's not doing that much.
It's a good question.
You're a weird guy.
I don't have a good answer for
I think that we should just donate you to science.
Yeah. When we're wrapped up here.
Answered questions that.
Yeah, we could do that. There'd be a lot of benefit. We'd figure out what's coming out of my hands.
Why you're sleeping for it? Why, when you want to on a plane, you can sleep for upwards of 24 hours straight?
I swear, dude, and I've said it 100 times, and we all know I sleep on the plane, but there was the time coming back from Tokyo when you were sick. I swear to God, I fell asleep before the plane took off. I woke up to eat the food, and I fell back asleep. I woke up, and I'm pretty sure the plane was descending into Los Angeles. I completely slept through the whole Pacific Ocean, the entirety of it. You know what I mean? And I deserve something for that.
No. No, the opposite. They should take something away is what they should do.
No, I'm like an X-Men in that way.
But I don't, like, the first time we went to, we don't need to redo it. The first time we went into Kyoto, first of all, we land late. We have to figure out a way to get into Kyoto because we're in Osaka, technically.
Well, keep in mind, we did Denver, Minneapolis. We'll breeze through this. Yeah. Denver, Minneapolis, Seoul, Kyoto. No, Osaka.
Every time that we didn't physically need to be walking, and that includes you like sitting and waiting on a plane, you were asleep.
Mm-hmm. I slept during the flight. When you fell
asleep in the car, and I wasn't sure because I was like, we didn't realize how far of a drive it was about to be. The guys did not want to take us, just to be clear. We messed this all up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know if I've got enough yen on me to pay this guy, and I'm not sure if I can pay with a card. So I'm like, and we're in the like middle of nowhere. So I'm like, I don't know how to communicate with this guy. You are asleep again. You've at this point been sleeping for like literal days. And I'm like, I couldn't believe you fell asleep in the car again. And I was like, and I'm just there alone, like sweating, being like, I don't know what we're gonna do if we get here and he won't take this. I don't know how to go to an ATM.
My thinking was
first
this.
time there.
My thinking was this. And I can still remember pulling into Kyoto and being like, oh shit, we're only a mile from the hotel, and be like, Japan's pretty tight. But I remember thinking, I can't affect anything during this time. My phone also wasn't working, keep in mind. So I was literally just a body of flesh and bone in Japan. If it weren't for you, I would have had nothing. I had no cash on me. I couldn't even call my bank and tell them that my card's here. I would have literally had nothing.
I felt like your fucking dad.
That's what you were in that moment.
And you were just like a kid and that you weren't helping at all.
I couldn't. You could have handed me your phone.
You didn't even ask what you could have done.
You could have handed me your phone and I could have dug through. You know what I mean? But like, again, my phone wasn't working. Remember fucking Xfinity, the worst company on the goddamn planet. You know what?
You have your cell service through Xfinity?
At that point, I did. I did because when we moved out of Denver, we reset up a thing and they were like, "Oh, bundle it all into one." And I could have saved money. And my mom and sister got off. I was on their plan. Long story short, I needed a new plan. And I was like, "I'll try Xfinity because they're going to save me 15, 20, 30 bucks, whatever it was, right?" You like honestly, you have a better chance. I can't even think of something to say. Try to talk to a human being at Xfinity. You dial the number and
we all know exactly this. Well, Cole wasn't here yet, but I know exactly this because I listened to your dumb ass while you were
losing my mind.
Orders, yell at Comcast for like
customer service
4 hours.
Customer service, and I say I literally can't believe that you get paid to do this right now. Anyway, that's me at my ugliest. But I had there was nothing. You were my dad. You were my dad. In fact, I was just trying to think of something about my dad. My dad's never really done shit for me, so you did more for me in that moment than my dad did.
So I'm about the same level, and well, great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. So anyway, no more about Japan. We'll move on from that.
I don't remember how we got on this, just because you sleep a lot.
Brute strength, kid.
Oh yeah.
I'm not sure if that was either, but that's about it, dude. I'm trying to think of anything else funny happened. I did paint a little bit. And I'm getting my situation. I'm working on that little leather project. As I said, I had some sewing supplies come in the mail this morning right before I left. So I'm looking forward to dicking around with that a little bit tonight.
I'm surprised you never went through the phase of like guy who made his own wallets.
It's crazy to me that I hadn't.
Is that what you're doing now?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm making something else.
But the type of every guy with a beard for a while had a
you want beard oil,
mm-hmm.
You want wax for a jacket, or you want a handmade wallet.
This guy's got a Shopify for each.
Yes, sir.
He's paying taxes on each.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And he is just blind emailing every store in the United States. I can't tell you the amount of emails that I fielded at a certain time in my life that were, I make belts and small leather goods in, Iowa, as you pronounce it.
Iowa. Yeah.
And it was just like nonstop. So I'm surprised I'm surprised that missed you.
You know what though? As I really do, our buddy has one of those Visvim wallets. They're like they zip square. It does two sides. You know what I'm saying? So it opens. I really like that shape, and my wallet is ancient, beat to shit. So I am due for a new wallet. But we have something coming in the new year that I'm holding out for. So that's where I'm at with wallets.
Got it. Great update on wallets. So what do we got going on before we get into our interview? What do we got going on at the shop?
Okay, so we have Taiga Takahashi delivered last week in his live. That is not everything for the season, I don't believe.
It's like half of it or something. I don't know.
So that is, I wrote more than what we physically got. So that is live. Hop over and peep that. At time of this airing, I believe we're going to send an email, but if we haven't sent the email yet, nonetheless, this is me telling you that the rest of product that would be group 2 is now marked to 30%. So everything that is seasonally, that seasonal product that will be marked down seasonally is now marked down to 30%. So hop over to the sale page. Currently in the studio, we have lots of boxes of Orslo, a couple boxes of New Balance, Henderscheme, Crocs. We've got Catchball on the way.
Pubco restocked. I don't know if we talked about that since last time.
Pubco did restock. Oh yeah, Pubco
Full
big restock because that
restock,
was a whole situation.
I think that's the email that went out today.
Yep. So hopefully we're selling a bunch of that shit now that we're sitting in here, which I know your phone's been lighting up. So Pubco, that's about it. There's a couple other things that is probably coming sooner than later, both being Nanamika has hit us up and I know there's product ready for that. Camille Fortune's probably on the horizon. Frismworks restock in a very limited quantities, but Frismworks restock is on the way.
A bit of a core restock, yeah.
And then we are about to round the corner and start getting a ton new product as
CDG
well. So.
is fully restocked finally.
Perfume did restock, yes. So
Binu, Boda, basically all like apothecary or home goods, things like that. All of that is totally restocked.
Yes.
Apartamento.
Yes.
We got magazines on the way.
No, Lightning arrived.
landed.
Yeah.
So Lightning is restocked. All the
Vintage Champion T-shirts, etc., etc.
I feel like we're missing something. I know there's a bunch of new Asics on there that are really good. A bunch of New Balance. Check all the shoes.
Yeah.
And then, sales. So there's like a lot of new and a lot of sale and a lot of stuff. And just to be clear, too, if you're listening to this on a Thursday, I don't know if we've emailed about the sale thing or not, but technically we marked everything.
It's already there,
30% off. So that was really only for Patreon, but it's live up there. Anyone can go get it. So
yes, sir.
If you're listening to this, go get it.
Yes, sir.
All right, is that good?
I think that's just about it, pal.
All right, well, let's talk about our guest today.
Yeah.
So this is someone we've mentioned on the pod a few times as being one of my favorite little EPs, I guess is what you'd call it.
It'd be one of the tunes would be a rankable tune, right up there.
Yeah.
So for all those people because a lot of people really loved our Love on the Outside by Wishy recommendation last year. I heard multiple people being like, damn, I never would have found this. Thanks for putting me onto that. I would put this right next to it, at least in my brain. The tune "Ain't That Bad."
What's funny,
Ram.
and I'll tell him the story. I'll say the story, but how I found it is interesting, and so I was really excited when it finally came out. Just because like all of the songs are just have these like hooks that are just like in ya. You know what I mean? Like as soon as you hear all 4 songs that are on the EP get ya. And I love shit like that. And it has such like a nostalgic sound, but it's also so fresh and interesting. So I think it's really cool. I really like this kind of return to guitar music that's kind of happening little by little. And I think it's a really, he's primed to be really great. And I really like his vision. He's, so this is going to be Matthew Berry of a lot of bands. Happy Diving, Big Bite, played in both of those. First solo project was the Berries, and now Ram is his most recent. And everything that he's worked on, I've liked. This feels like a more maybe fully realized like vision, like singular vision of what he's doing. So I'm excited to talk to him about that and the progress of how he got there. And I don't know. It's just like a musician I've admired a lot and got put on
Mm-hmm.
to by good people, and just excited to see where he goes from here. So I'm excited to talk to him, kind of learn a little bit more about process and influence and stuff like that.
Yeah, I like the term guitar music. Is that something
Yeah.
that you just ad libbed or?
I feel like I've heard people talk about it
Oh,
like
cool.
that. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's been like, for so long there was, it was hip hop and EDM and a lot of electronic based music. And I like all that stuff. And I think there's been plenty of people, actually, John T. we talked about this. I love that record from Armlock. That they technically come from sort of like a EDM background, but they're able to do this too. And I think there's a lot of musicians who are just using that medium because it was easily available to people. Like, you didn't really need much to get into it. It's easy to write music quickly and put things out there, and that sounds super professional and big. So I'm all for any version of musical expression. I just think that for so long that's been the predominant thing, and I'd love to see a return to like guitar driven music, especially like with solos, and it's a little it's like rock and roll. It's cool and it's edgy and it's fun.
It made me think like I think of guitar music. I think of like Dino Jr.
Sure,
and there's
like
elements of that
sort
even too, like really fuzzy and.
I guess that's kind of what I mean. Like music, I think MJ Lenderman's albums were kind of similar to this year that were really popular, where it's like that feels like the guitar is sort of the forefront of what's happening. Like there's guitar solos and that's the predominant like instrument that's speaking. So I like that stuff a lot. And I think it's cool to hear that again. So I'm excited to talk to him. So yeah,
cool.
So let's should we just get into it?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and stop down and then we'll pop in.
Cool. Real quick, you like Matt or Matthew? Which one do you go by?
It doesn't really matter. Everyone calls me Matt.
Okay, we can do Matt if you're okay with it. See, I get this. I'm Timothy, and I go by that because my dad's name is Tim. So, like, he goes by Tim, so I can't do that one because I don't hear it. So I got to do the full thing.
Yeah, I like your name, Timothy Grindle.
Thanks, man.
Like
what about it resonates with you? Oh, Dickensian. I'll take that.
Yeah.
No, man, we're from Indiana. It's a different thing.
Yeah, it's pretty Dickensian in Indiana.
Have you been to Indiana before?
Yeah, a few times.
You like it all right?
Yeah, where are you from in Indiana?
Mainly Fort Wayne, which is like northeast.
I've only really spent a lot of time in Bloomington. One of my best friends.
Oh, Bloomington's good. Yeah, I went to school there for a little bit.
Oh, okay, yeah. One of my best buddies is from there. So I've played in his bands over there and toured and stuff. I think I've played in Indianapolis too. Yeah, I have.
What band are you talking about?
This guy Cora Puckett.
Oh, cool.
I played with his band Bug.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, I know of him. It's funny, actually. The way I found not your previous bands, but Ram was Will from Hotline TNT, who we interviewed, had just posted like a random video of like a live thing, just like on Instagram or whatever, and it said something about like Ram, but like there was no @ or anything like that, nothing. Yeah. And I was like, when I heard like a snippet of a song, and it got stuck in my head so bad that I was like, I got to figure out what the fuck this is. And I spent like months trying to figure out what it was, but it wasn't anywhere online. Like there was, and it was, I just couldn't find it. And so he had randomly posted like the EP or whatever, and I was like, oh shit, so I bought it right away, and I was like, because I got to know what the rest of the songs sound like, because I only knew like a line from one song. And it was Ain't That Bad. So when I finally figured it, I was like, oh man, this has been stuck in my head for a fucking month before I'd ever heard it. So it's an interesting way to get obsessed with something from the internet that I could not locate.
Yeah, that's snippets.
Cool. Yeah. So it's cool, man. We love the record, dude. We've fucking rinsed it already, so.
Fuck yeah. I'm glad. It's been a fun, I don't know, I haven't like started a new band in a long time, so it's kind of it's kind of a fun exercise. It's like, it's kind of, the idea of it was kind of to be a nod to my first band I did. It was called Happy Diving, and I wanted to kind of do something like that, but from the perspective of my 30-year-old self, not my 19-year-old self.
Yeah. It's a tricky thing. I grew up playing music, and like writing gets trickier as you get older. You'd think it would be easier because you've done it for a certain amount of time.
Right.
But like, you just feel different, so it's hard to write things that feel relevant sometimes, I suppose. Like, where do you like get inspiration for like writing?
I mean, It's mostly in terms of like RAM. It's mostly trying to like I was really trying to write like pop songs. Yeah. So a lot of romance, or like trying to like a feeling of I don't know. It's hard to explain. I'm like wanting to look at the lyrics to think about it because it's kind of been a while since I wrote them. But
yeah.
I mean, it's mostly trying to write like something that I feel is easily conveyed, or like anyone could hear it and think like, oh yeah, I know that feeling. Like like a big hooky chorus was kind of the like like how I was operating on every song. I wanted every song, pretty much every song, to have some kind of like chorus where you definitely could sing along.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's like such an because it's. I really think like just from the EP, it's like the first thing when I sent it to Chase, I was like, "Yo, listen to this. I think you'll." I was like, the hooks are fucking big.
Yeah.
like you really like every single song has been stuck in my head at like different points of, like, listening through the record, and it's like because I feel like it almost feels like that's what it leads with, but then we were just talking about like. There's not as much guitar music as there used to be. I feel like everything was kind of like guitar led, sort of like that was the predominant instrument for so long. Mm-hmm. And it's what I grew up with, like being interested in like, a lot of grungy stuff or Dinosaur Jr. or whatever, like very guitar led types of things. And it just feels like so lost so far on this generation. And it's been interesting to see this like, I don't know, sort of like shoegaze seems to be hitting with this like younger audience, this like older like sense of like what shoegaze was.
I know,
and what
it's crazy.
Are two different things. But those were so like the only guys I knew growing up that liked that type of music were guys that were like guitar nerds. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It was just like guitar nerds were the only ones that would ever talk about that stuff with me because they like talking about pedals and gear and all that shit. And like as much as I am self-identifying as that thing, that's not like the best guitar players in the world either. That's just like it's a different type of thinking about music where your shit feels like that old style guitar led, like we're gonna do big hooks into a big fucking solo and everything's gonna hit. And I really like that. Like how intentional was any of that, or is that just like the stuff you grew up?
It's very intentional. I mean, I listen to I like some shoegaze stuff. Like, I mean, and I try to keep up with modern music, but I just love, Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, Southern Rock, 38 Special, Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Yeah.
Like anything that has guitar solos and is like rock, British Invasion. I don't know. It's like the only thing I like to listen to. And a lot of that like 38 Special and like Southern Rock stuff that like in the 80s really... You have to excuse me. I'm kind of getting over something. But it really veers into a lot of, like it's just very pop structurally. And so it's like in a lot of the songs, it's like big chorus into a big guitar solo. And it just feels so like heroic. And I think I've always like wanted that and tried to apply that in my own music whenever possible. So it's very intentional is my point.
Yeah.
It's so... like it's such a recipe, and I think for so long, like so many bands used that recipe and then they just sort of stopped. And then everything, I think that even like a lot of the more popular, like independent led stuff it feels a lot more towards experimental. I think especially trying to blend like the fact that most kids are growing up with like an EDM influence as opposed to like a rock influence like I grew up with.
Well, I had that too, I had an EDM phase when I was in high school.
Yeah? Like give me, what are we talking about?
Like dubstep.
Yeah.
I mean,
is it just because that? Like, where are you from?
I'm from the Bay Area.
Okay.
Oh, right on.
Okay, I feel like that. Look, it probably hit there a little before it hit Indiana.
Yeah, Skrillex. I thought Skrillex was awesome when I was like 16.
And you also like From First to Last?
Yeah. When I was like, I feel like my emo like era was really short lived between like middle school. Yeah. And I kind of got over it. Like once I started skating, I kind of thought it wasn't cool anymore. I started skating when I was in like 8th grade. And then I was like, I don't like this shit anymore. I like rap.
Yeah, it forced you to make a switch, I think, especially if you're from that area. Like for us, that was like you had to go from any sort of like screamo type of stuff into like hardcore. If you were like skate too, you had to like
Youth Crew.
Music. Yeah.
Or on the other aspect of things, like bands like Latterman or
Sure.
that was also.
Never even heard of that.
Ladderman. How would you describe that, Timothy?
I mean, it's not. It's like more punk than hardcore,
Yeah.
but it's like it's that from that same sort of area
Yeah.
of, you know what I mean? Like we like grew up in that music scene, so like that's like what resonates. I feel like everything that we do now all kind of comes from that sort of music scene, like between that and skating, because they had such like a culture behind them. Whereas like I don't really know like what the EDM culture is, like, because it just didn't get to us by the time I was too old for it.
Yeah. I mean, I have some like adjacency to hardcore. I mean, not even by like, I've never like, I like hardcore, you know, like some stuff. I would never say like claim that I was like a big fan, but I've always been around it. Like the first, like one of my other bands I was in that is still somewhat active is called Big Bite. And we were on this label that was like it's called Popwig. It was like the guys from TUI and Turnstile's label.
Yeah.
They brought Turnstile brought us. This is like a long time ago, like 7 years ago now, or 8 years ago, or something. But we went on tour with Turnstile before they were like, you know, I mean, they were huge, but they weren't like this. Yeah, but like it was crazy. And I just didn't really have much exposure to hardcore world, and I was like, man, this is fucking crazy.
Yeah,
like, their shows were insane at the time.
TUI was always it was a very, very violent affair. Yeah. But I loved it. That was like one of the first bands that really resonated with me. In fact, it was one of the 3 CDs I had in my car when I got my driver's license.
Oh, fuck
Secrets of the World. Yeah, it was fucking sick. Speaking of Turnstile too, I Google or look on YouTube or Spotify once a week. I look for that tune that they made for I Think You Should Leave. I don't know if you're into Tim Robinson. I Think You Should Leave.
I've seen it. Not like a lot, but I've seen it.
There's a bit, without going too far into it, Turnstile made the song for the bit.
Whoa.
And it's, speaking of hooks and shit, it is so catchy. And I find myself humming it, but like they didn't, I think they just made, you know, the 45-second snippet or whatever. But if they would release the tune.
They're not going to release it. It's just like a soundtrack thing.
Yeah, I think so. I just think I think they're friends with him in some way. Right. That band kind of became way more than, because it was just like a side project of the TUI guys for a long time. But then like my sister knows Turnstile.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. So. I'm so happy for them. It's just like,
yeah, good for them.
It's just so crazy to like see. I just never like in my, you know, like I was being adjacent to like all this kind of like underground music, like, you know, when I first started coming into it was like 2013, 2014. And everything felt so like underground at the time. Like you know, like, especially hardcore and punk. And to think that a band would ever go beyond like playing like a really sweaty basement show that was super packed out, but that felt like the ceiling to me, but that ceiling felt really cool. But it just kind of, it's crazy. Yeah. Like you were saying, how shoegaze has kind of got really popular with kids. Like I just could never have imagined that happening when I was in like a shoegaze band in 2012 or 13.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. So, I mean, I grew up in either hardcore or shoegaze. It was like the two like types of music I played when I was younger, and nobody liked it. You know what I mean? Like it was trying to find that, like it was like a needle in a haystack type of situation. So you could maybe get like 30 people, 40 people that were like super into it, but like that's as like big as I thought it could really be. I mean, obviously there's bands that like permeated, you know, like My Bloody Valentine or whatever, but that's because they're like the inventors.
Yeah.
And, you know, then to start seeing like, you know, a lot of these guys start to go like, you know, Ride going on tour again and all this shit, because obviously there's enough interest built now. I don't really understand where that started or like why it started, but like you look at like the aesthetics of it, the look of the bands at that time. I think it was just too progressive in that moment. And then, or too extreme maybe is the other way to put it. And then they've been able to doctor it up. I see all these like, you know, younger shoegaze bands that are like blowing up, and it's like, dude, that music would not have done shit. But I also noticed they're putting so much new influence into it, like a lot of a lot of drum machines and unusual shit, almost like Cocteau Twins and things like this.
Yeah.
And I like it just because I like the influence of that stuff so much. But it is weird that connected with people more than other things. Like I feel like grunge never hit for that group, but it hit for, you know, music I was involved in when I was young.
Yeah, but you know what's weird is with the grunt, like real, you know, like feel like Alice in Chains and Soundgarden don't hit, but like Creed does for some reason.
Yeah.
I'm like, why?
Yeah. Well,
like,
you know, that's a
like they don't want the like real shit. They want the like refined, like commercialized version. No offense to Creed, but I'm just saying, you know, like that whole world of music came out as a result of them trying to commercialize grunge.
Yeah. And it's funny that like that I think that like without context and the memification of the, you know, internet, that Creed is funny. They just are funny. It's just, you know, so I sort of get it, like why it would get popular as like a joke.
Yeah.
But it is crazy that like something like that blows up and other things don't. I don't know. Like how like younger generations are picking these random pieces, which I'm sure, you know, there's things that my parents would say that like are influences you might have, like that you've called out that were like, oh, who liked that band back then? You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's also just less going on, I think. So how do you as a younger guy get into like that kind of, you know, Aerosmith and all that shit like that? Does that come from your parents, or is that just something you found at some point and then, you know, latched on? Because it obviously really hits for you.
Well, my parents, I'm 31 now. My parents were pretty young. My dad, let's see. My mom had me when she was like 19. So my dad was like 22. So just, they weren't like, you know, they weren't like young, or they were like little kids in the 70s.
Yeah, sure.
So they were like teenagers in the 80s. So most of the music that like nostalgic music for them in high school was like, you know, like mid to late 80s. So some like hair metal, but mostly, you know, like, oh man, I can't even think of any bands like Echo and the Bunnymen, The Cure, stuff like that. Like they kind of liked stuff like that. They weren't like music people. So, but I never really had any exposure to like a lot of rock except like Southern rock and country because my family is from the South. And so they were like, you know, like my mom was really into 38 Special and my family like loved Skynyrd, and, you know, so I always liked that stuff. And I was exposed to classic rock, you know, as anyone is as a kid, like Hendrix and Zeppelin, but it just never like, it was never like pummeled over me. Like I think a lot of people who had older parents who like grew up in the 70s had it. It just never like was like drilled into me. And so when I started, for me, the first time I heard a guitar, I mean, I started playing guitar in middle school to like, you know, Slipknot and stuff like that. Stuff that's popular at the time. But the first time I heard like guitar playing where I was like, oh my God, this is like blowing my mind, was when I watched Minefield and heard Dinosaur Jr. for the first time.
Yeah.
And all the songs from that record Beyond from 2007, I was just like blown away. And then from there, I think and I was maybe, I don't know when that came out, but I was maybe 16 or 17 when I heard that. And then it really reinvigorated my wanting to play guitar. And then from there, it was like, I kind of rediscovered some classic rock. And then it became like all consuming to me. You know, I was just like anything, the history of guitar music as like the whole tapestry of it from forever just became my fixation. And just since then it's kind of has been, and I've just digged into deeper and deeper, you know, shit. And like classic, you know, like just any big band. Like it's funny because it seems stock to be like, what are your favorite bands? Well, like Aerosmith and Aerosmith is just a current fixation. It's not always been my favorite band, but but to say that, it sounds stock, but really it's like, it is just the best. They're so big for a reason. They're so good. And I like other deep cut music, but like it's hard sometimes to not just listen to like Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin because it's so fucking good.
You know, it's funny. I think that maybe I listened to part of another interview that you did, and you talked about kind of being anti, like I feel the same way sometimes, or we've talked about it when it comes to clothes, of like you get these like hyper niches that happen, okay? And that's really cool. And like that's kind of what we work inside of, these like very niche specific brands that do very specific things. And I love all that shit. But like the classics are a classic for a reason. And I also think there's something cool that I sort of miss in this current generation about like liking the same things that everybody else likes. I feel like especially music gets hit harder than anything else with that, of like, if it gets too popular, it switches and you can't be like sophisticated and smart and, you know, knowledgeable about music and still like that thing because it's gotten too popular. And I think that sucks because I think when you're talking about bands like Aerosmith, there was just less stuff going on as part of it, but that was just the best.
Yeah.
And it was what was out there and everybody liked it. And it was cool that we all liked the same stuff. And I wish that would sort of change in the music scene because I think that would help bands be a lot more popular, number one, but and make more money. But it would also just like I don't understand why that's so associated, especially in like alternative music scene.
Well, because it's kind of I think the issue sometimes is people are more concerned with aesthetics above the fact that like some music, and I really do believe that like music is not subject to opinion mostly. I think it's really either good or bad, and it can be decided by everybody if it's good or bad. If you just put your biases aside, anybody who listens, if you can just get every little connotation about something out of your mind, and you just listen to Aerosmith Rocks, that album, you are going to say, this is great. Anybody could say it's great. Maybe it's not your thing, but you can say it's great music. And people get too hung up on like the aesthetics of how people look, or, you know, it's like,
or how they
if this music sounds cool or something like that.
Yeah, or if it like fits what they want to signal to the world that their brand is, and how
aesthetics. And you know, it's just I think people would get down with that stuff. But I mean, there's like, you know, there's so much. Aerosmith is becoming the focus, but there's so much other great music. It's not just, you know, I don't just listen to classic rock all the time, but.
Well, you know, it's like I think it's a tricky thing where like a lot of those bands, it's hard, especially for younger generations. Even if you think about like aesthetics of like Steven Tyler is now the figurehead of that band, and he still continues to make strange choices. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like as a public figure, and it's really hard to shake that versus like what he was then, which was so cool and, you know, obtuse and interesting. And it's just like I think it can be hard as those bands age. I mean, I try to avoid stuff where I love Led Zeppelin. I grew up with Led Zeppelin, and that band like means a lot to me on almost every front, every part of that band. It's like they're my Beatles, you know?
Sure.
And I think they're so cool, but I don't really want to hear any of them talk about anything. And luckily that band in particular tends to keep their mouth shut as older people for the most part. But there's like plenty of bands where that's, you know, Rolling Stones comes to mind too, doing like SNL still and shit like that. And you're just like, it's hard to shake this idea of who they are now versus who they were then. Whereas like you should have just let the music spoke for itself before.
Yeah.
You know, so it can be tough to separate those things because as much as I don't want aesthetics to be part of music, like music is interesting because it's an all-encompassing thing that like, you know.
See, I still think those guys are cool though, even now.
I mean, I think they're funny. It's just a different,
they're so cool. They wear like makeup and shit. It's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
They look crazy. Listen,
you don't need to convince me. I'm with you. I like this. I like when they drag up some old guy to do something, and you know, it's like, but it's also hard to like, if you need to know both sides. Like if I'm getting introduced to The Cure for the first time and I see his ass come out with the crazy hair and hockey jersey instead of the young slinky dude, it is hard to be like, oh, I don't know what this would look like if it was cool. I only know this sort of weird version of it, which is interesting.
Still kind of checks out for The Cure, but yeah.
Yeah, it's still, it seems like he probably would have been doing the same thing regardless, but yeah, it is an interesting thing because you have to like, how much do you, I mean, talking on this, like how much do you consider like the aesthetics of your work? You know what I mean? Like how you dress or how you look or how you do things.
Well,
you know, with your bands.
I do consider it quite a lot. I do think.
Sure.
And this is something a friend said to me once, that it is like, in terms of rock music, like coolness is a part of it. Like
100%.
Like anybody who tries to say it's just about the music, or like, you know, I see these bands on like Instagram Reels where it's like, the music almost sounds good, but they look like dorks. Yeah. I'm sorry, but it's like rock. It's like rock is about being cool a little bit. It is about being cool. And I do, you know, I like to dress a certain way, and I think I dress relatively cool. I don't think it's really ostentatious or anything like that, but it's, you know, I'm well dressed, and I don't think you have to be to make great music. And but I think that there's, you know, something to be said about the art and the music and all of the, like, you know, everything that you're presenting about it needs to kind of make the person listening to it feel like a little like they're in on something. Mm-hmm. Like they're a part of something that's really cool, or something that's like just for them and like certain people who get it. And it's not something that you like are actively thinking about doing, but I think that that's an influence on me, because when I was younger and I was hearing bands like Milk Music or Ovlov, and I like heard it and saw like their visuals or like, you know, whatever, and saw the people, I was like, man, this is so cool, and I feel like I get it, and I feel like I'm part of something by knowing these bands. You know, and those are like bands that were contemporary at the time. But I mean, I guess still are kind of, but you know, it's just, there's something about making people feel like they're a part of something. And that, I think the aesthetics that you put into your music and present your music with play a major role in that.
You know, I think it can probably be pretty tough. I think about it, since we have to represent a bunch of brands. And then the most important part about what we do as a business is sort of this like community element of this is a bunch of guys just like within the music or whatever scene or whatever thing you're into are hyper into it. And they need sort of like a figurehead to sort of steer the community. Doesn't mean they're the most important, doesn't mean they're the coolest, doesn't mean they're anything. They're just sort of like spearheading this community. And I think that's, in a way, at least what I saw, especially in like the queer punk scene in Chicago, is like there would be bands that like they're the ones sort of guiding the vision. You know what I mean? In a way of like what the like when people write about this scene or whatever, they're thinking about a certain look or a certain band or a certain visual or a style or, you know, the type of gear they use or whatever it is. It's kind of hard to like, you don't make that decision ahead of time. It's like, I think that you do certain things a certain way to push things forward because that's what you want to do personally, and that's kind of how people follow that and decide on those aesthetics. Or like it's really about like one person doing something that's slightly different. I think that you certainly do that in the music that I've heard of yours. That's like it's hard to place it in a nice way. I mean that as a compliment. I hear like, you know, definitely like almost like Springsteen, like anthematic, like super like hooky shit. But then you're doing a lot of weird like bends and stuff that I wouldn't associate with him at all.
Yeah.
And then that thing that like maybe people forgot about a little bit or a younger generation just hasn't heard of will hear this and it moves it 15-20%, you know what I mean, in like in a new direction, and it evolves and becomes this new thing. Mm-hmm. Like I think that it's hard to know like what responsibility you have as that figurehead until you're too far down the road to realize what you've kind of accomplished.
Sure.
So that's why I was asking kind of initially about like intention of like, especially as you've been in a few different bands now, like do you have like an intention with this band of like what you'd ultimately like to accomplish, or like, or where you're still like headed with the sound or look or any aspect of it, or what niche do you feel like it's filling? Or hole, I mean.
I think that with, you know, I feel in like the amount of time that I've been playing music, I've been able to more or less find a sound that's kind of uniquely me, you know?
Yeah.
Which I would hope anybody does if they're playing music for like 13 years or something. But
yeah.
You know, that was kind of just my goal overall, was like to do something like, yeah, like an anthemic rock thing that it has elements of like, you know, like I do a lot of bendy guitar stuff, and that's, you know, that's always been kind of part of the whole general aesthetic. But it's, you know, as far as like what the goal is with the band, it's just to make music and to put it out, and to hopefully, you know, I'd like to go on tour and stuff like that. I don't have the same ambitions I did as when I was a younger man, because I just don't feel like going on tour 6 months out of the year. It just doesn't really appeal to me to like grind for a band and be broke so that maybe we can have some success. Though it does help to do that, and it would probably make me more successful as a musician, I kind of don't feel like doing it. So my goal is primarily to do some touring, to keep making more music and try to, you know, get somewhere with the writing that feels even better than where it's at now. You know, everything is kind of just like, once you like, I have a body of work like that EP and I can listen to it front to back, I can kind of get this feeling that I'm getting from the music of like how I kind of want it to go forward. And so I've been kind of working on music for the next thing, for the next Ram thing. And, you know, I don't know that I don't ever really think, I'm not a very goal oriented person. That's probably why I, you know, don't I haven't really gotten very far with music because I just don't probably try hard enough, to like push it, because I just like making it, and I'm kind of okay with my life the way it is without being a touring musician or trying to like get somewhere with it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, you like asking me what like the goal or the vision is. I have one for like how it sounds and how it looks, but I don't really know what that, like how to put it into words or what I really plan to do with it. I just kind of want to, I can't, it's not even so much that I like making music, it's that I just kind of can't help myself to it. It's like the only thing I know how to do or have ever known how to do. So I just kind of keep at it.
I think it's an interesting point that you made. You kind of need to start. I don't know. I feel this way as someone who's always been a creative person in my own way. I always felt more creative on the sense of like I could get people together and get them to do the things I wanted to do so that we could push towards a bigger thing. Like it was more like that's why the business side of things, even in music, when I did it, was easier for me because I just felt like I know what we need to produce and what we need to do and where we need to put it and how we need to, I was good at arranging things to make them more than they were. But I wasn't as good at the kind of what you're saying of like just the creation part. It's just different. It's like you need to make it so that you can see it and go, now I know how to make that better. Now, because I like when I would make music with friends and stuff, you would make it and then same deal. You'd have to like listen to it back a bunch of times and then I'd go, okay, I'm hearing what this is now, but I didn't know what it was in the moment. I needed to make it fully, and now I can fix and
Right.
mold it more. But like without just making stuff in the first place, I mean, people stand over the putt way too fucking long on almost everything in life. So to just make stuff and then go, now we'll make it more. You know what I mean? Like if you like it now, it'll only get better as you go because you can just keep adjusting. You know what I mean? Depending on how good you are at writing. But if you don't like, I mean, I understand not liking tour. Quite frankly, we have a lot of opportunity to travel for what we do, and I try to get away from as much of it as possible. We pretty much go to Japan and that's it. And I've been able to weed it down to just that. And
just Japan sounds great.
Yeah, it's tight.
But I don't like the travel part that much. That's not the part I like. And I don't like being the face of anything. We do that more out of like necessity because somebody's got to do it. And that pushes the thing forward. How much do you like? I have two questions, I guess. One, what is the aspect do you like the writing specifically or like the recording or the release? Like what part of it? And then how do you sort of, in a separate way, how do you justify, kind of coming off the whole like kind of cool guy talk? How do you justify the fact that like you do kind of anymore have to participate inside of social media? But how the fuck do you do that and be cool in any way? Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, I threw two.
No, it's okay. What was the first one again?
Well, I think the first one is like if you don't like, I understand not liking the touring aspect, but like what part of it for you is the part you look forward to the most? Is it just writing? Is it recording? Is it like what part of it do you look forward to?
It's the thing I look forward to the most is, well, you get an idea for a song, and from like the beginning of getting an idea for one song or one idea, you write that one and maybe you have another idea and they feel cohesive, and then you get to make art for it, and then you get to put it out and be praised by your friends and fans. And that whole process from beginning to end is a cycle that you just repeat over and over again. And it's really exciting. And, I go to sleep at night like, oh, I'm excited to like work on the next song for this thing and then to record it. Like the whole thing is fun from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. And then it ends and you just kind of do it again. At least that is how I've justified being alive up to this point. That is, my purpose for living, so it seems, is that I am going to find a way to be excited about some music that I'm working on because it's all I really know how to do.
Yeah.
And your other question, I'm sorry?
Yeah, no, how do you, going off the conversation about, being cool is definitely part of music, especially like the type of music you're playing. I think that's a huge chunk of it. How do you work into the fact that like there just doesn't seem to be any way to put out music anymore without using social media in some way, shape, or form? And that's like it's just like inherently uncool. Like, how do you work that into your anything, or do you just choose not to? The other version.
Well, yeah, no, I hear you. It's social media is so unbelievably horrible, and I hate it so much beyond reason. I have such an addictive personality that if I have Instagram downloaded on my phone, like I can't not look at it all day. I have to have it deleted as much as possible. But as far as like being in a band, you know, I don't mind like using it. I don't mind so much that I have to use it to post like new music or, you know, a new release or a show. And I just use it for that. I will never, you know, posting live videos of us playing is something I like to do. I think that's cool, but
yeah,
I will never like when I see bands do like TikTok style videos, it's just like, I feel like my soul dies a little bit. It's so, it's so unbelievably embarrassing to me. And so obviously, not because I think the person making it is like, this is so awesome that we're making this video. It's because they feel like they have to do that to get successful. And it's just embarrassing to watch people grovel like that. And I will never, ever do that. And I can't stand watching other bands do it because it's just giving into this idea that we're like, you know, we have to use TikTok to, and labels tell you that. Every label I've worked with has been like, well, you got to get on TikTok, you know, and every band will tell you that. And it's like, I'm just like, if it means I'm never going to get anywhere with music, that's fine, but I will never do it. I can't bring myself. Maybe it's pride and maybe I shouldn't be so prideful, but I just can't see how I could find myself on social media in that way. It's just, it's like, it's like making me cringe thinking about the things I've seen bands do. You know,
dude, I think you're fucking cool for doing that. I think it makes me like you way more even too, of just being like, I don't care that it might lead to a less ears or less potential earnings or whatever, but just being like, I think it's dorky and uncool and I'm just not going to do it. And I think that's really cool.
Well, see, there's guys like you who understand, but you're in the minority, my friend. Yeah. I mean, it's not that. Well, that's what I'm saying. People think it's not cool. I mean, sorry, it's not that people think when you make TikToks it's cool. It's just that you are getting way more exposure when you like use social media in that way. More people are seeing you, so more people are going to be inclined to check out your music. But yeah, I mean, there are people who, ideally, you know, can appreciate the fact that you don't participate in that.
Mm-hmm. I think that this is kind of what we're getting at. There's no way around that. Like, if you want to be a bigger band, you want to do more things. Which, who gets into music? I mean, look. There's plenty of people who get into music. We were talking about guys who like, you know, make music and shit and don't even
never recording.
They never hit record. They're just fucking, you know what I mean? Just making to make. I think that's super cool. But like, plenty of people get into music because you want it to be heard. You think it's good songs that would be heard and appreciated by a bunch of people and help people in whatever way art is going to help people. You know, and I think that's great. But the problem is that like sort of like bands like we were talking about, Aerosmith or whatever, are huge and they didn't need to do any of those things. Now the world was just different at the time, obviously.
Sure.
But like I still think like you want bands to be good and you want them to be big. And I have plenty of bands I follow that are small bands and I'm like, I want them to get huge. Like we're talking about with Turnstile, whatever. Like there's ways to do it, I'm sure, or use it. I think that's like, it's just, I guess the issue is like for me sometimes it's like it's hard enough just to write good songs and then to also be like now I have to think of a new way to use social media to get those songs out there. That just feels, how many problems can I solve? You know what I mean? Like I just don't know. I don't know how bands are expected to be good at everything, and it has to be them specifically that do it. I mean, I can think of several bands at this point without calling people out that have like used it in an interesting way that or used it in a unique way that has been, you know, as big of a part of their success as the music was, I think, to a certain degree.
Yeah. By being like funny, I don't know, or whatever.
Yeah. Or how, you know, however you end up using it. But it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't know how you'd go about it now. And especially if you're talking about like remaining like, I don't want to, I guess you
want Jay Mascis to make a funny TikTok video?
Nah, I'm going to walk it back. Maybe, I would like to see that maybe. that's falling into
as
that.
A bit, it would be funny, but it'd be so, ungenuine to
his label forcing him to do it is funny. Like that would be the way to use it in a unique way because he would hate it. And that would be funny to watch. But it's like, but yeah, I mean, it's just it's such a new thing that I just feel like is like there's no way of getting around it. But it is so deeply uncool, and that's such, like we're saying, that's such a big part of especially rock music that like I don't know. I don't know what you do. I mean, it's just it's a
they don't line up.
Thing.
You know, there's no like when I see like these like newer like Sunset Strip looking bands that like, you know, they kind of like look like they're in Motley Crue and they sound exactly like that. It's just like pure like nostalgia oriented rock, like kind of like how Greta Van Fleet sounds or is or whatever. And I don't know if Greta Van Fleet does this, but these other bands I've seen where it's like, you know, I don't know, just the TikToks. I'm like, you're taking the whole effect of the rock thing is that you look cool. You don't, because it's, you know, you just kind of look like you're Motley Crue. But like the whole idea would be that you'd be cool and this would be like looking cool, but it's completely ruined and tainted by the fact that you're making this like really embarrassing video.
Yeah.
But
it cheapens any of the good aspect of it.
It just looks like desperation. And I understand that, you know, like you gotta want it or something. I don't know. But I've felt like for a while, like so disillusioned with, like when I was younger, I really felt like I could have potential to do something with music. But I feel like as an adult, like I'm still doing it because it's all I really know, and I love to play music, and I play in a cover band here, so I get to like do it for money a little bit.
Cool.
I live in LA. I don't know if I said that, but it's like I get to play with bands, I get to play a lot, and it's fun. But like the idea of having a career, like sounds great too. But like what I'm being told I have to do to have that career is something I will never do. You know, like doing that TikTok thing or touring a lot or, you know, like a lot of online promotion. I just can't do it. And so it's, you know, if you're told that that's what you need to do and you don't want to do it, it's kind of, you know, disheartening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The idea that you can have a career in music.
Yeah, because it seems like the only other way that I see bands kind of avoid that trap is just tour aggressively.
Right.
Like I just aggressively. And it really, there isn't any like, I don't want to say there's none because I'm sure there's some I don't know about, but there certainly isn't like bigger, broader music journalism happening in any way at all anymore.
Yeah, no, it's sad.
All the even middle-sized ones are gone. Maybe there's still like zines and shit going around, but that's never going to do what, you know, a publication like Rolling Stone back in the day could have done, or any other number of things like Pitchfork or whatever could have been at their height. But it just doesn't feel like, you know, since that's gone away, now we rely on social media for that information or whatever, or you rely on the algorithm of Spotify, Apple Music, whatever, you know, whatever your taste is. And that's, you rely on the algorithm to discover new stuff rather than ever being told by anyone that you appreciate their taste from or that would want to put somebody on. So that's why we've used this platform a million times to like try to like talk to musicians we really fucking love, that like, because I think that like, yeah, it does suck anymore that there isn't a way for a band to like you without compromising aspects of yourself to like fully, you know, do your art. And that's not any way to, you know, digest art either. Like I don't want to digest that from, like you're saying, it's embarrassing to watch in some regard, but you're like, I totally get it. I know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. And I'm just, like I said, I know that there's gotta be different ways you could use it to where it doesn't feel like you're compromising so much of yourself or talking to the screen or whatever it might be that feels like that's the bridge that you won't cross. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough time for musicians, as like easy as it is, you know, because I grew up in a time where the only way that you could put out music is if you paid someone to professionally record you at a studio and you got ripped off like you couldn't believe, and then you got those bad recordings that were mixed like shit, and then you had to convert those to get those online in some way that no one would ever fucking hear them, and it cost a fortune to ever get to that point. So no one that got popular ever got to that point. And now it's completely the opposite. I can record a song on my phone in about 4 seconds and put it online, and I could probably do all of that in under 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a double-edged sword. There's just no way around, you know, all of that. Like it's such a good, we talk about Instagram, for example, being such a blessing and a curse towards fashion, where, you know, kids like us who grew up in the Midwest had no opportunity to see any interesting fashion or anything like that. It wasn't available. There was nowhere to digest it. No one else around us liked it. So you just didn't, or you kind of consumed it on your own. It was a very lonely endeavor, and the internet like connected people a little bit. And then Instagram blows up, and now there's kids that are like 13, 14-year-old coming in, quoting me, you know, are referencing like, you know, early Raf Simons stuff from, you know, and it's like, man, that's so cool that now these random kids, you know, can find that stuff, has access to that information, participate in a bigger community, all pros, but it comes with like an endless amount of cons also. And it's just it seems like music in particular has taken maybe the biggest hit and been most difficult to navigate. That landscape.
You just gotta work, and because you're not really making a lot of money from, like obviously like you're not selling records or anything like that. Like people, I mean, you know, bigger artists do, and you make something from streaming, but you really do have to grind. Like, and I don't think it's totally not. It is possible to do it without social media or whatever. You can. I'm sure. Yeah, like you were saying, like grinding, touring, stuff like that, and all this other shit, and putting out lots of music and like whatever. But God, it's so daunting to like. Like, and I think, and it's like, that's the thing is I don't want to seem like I'm sitting here on a soapbox saying that like, because of this and this and this, I'm not succeeding. It's due to like this, some circumstances outside of my control. It's totally within my control. Or like, it's not, I mean, like, for me to put myself in a position that I could potentially be a very successful musician isn't in my control. It's just like, some people are willing to do the things that you need to do, i.e. touring or social media, and some people aren't, and I'm just not. And so for that reason, I'm relegated to the underground, which is great too, because I get to like meet people like you guys who just happen to like my music, and it makes me feel good to talk to you and hear that you guys enjoyed it. And this is fine for me. Whatever this is great. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think, look, I also think that it very likely takes that mindset exactly to be a great artist in whatever field you're in or whatever you consider your creation or art or whatever. I think that's sort of it. It's like, I'm going to do it regardless, and it'll get out there or it won't, but I'm doing the same thing no matter what, because that's my non-compromise. That's what I'm going to do no matter what. I mean, like I say all the time, like if we went and sold this business or it collapsed tomorrow, I'm just going to do it again. I'll just start it over because I like the work. You know what I mean? I really like the work. I think that's basically what you're saying. Your work's just making the music. You know what I mean? So you're going to do it regardless. So it's going to, we'll see how it
I love to work.
You never know. Yeah, same. And I think that like, I don't know. I really like where this. I've liked everything that I've heard that you've worked on, but this one in particular just feels like it's such a. I don't know, man. I hope people hear it because I think it's a real explosive sound that is like right place, right time, right avenue. You know what I mean? Like that kind of music is just sort of has been not touched by like this this nostalgia resurgence, like this more classic rock, except for these like you're talking about these handful of bands that are doing literally like duplicates of it, which I don't understand. Like I want to see a modern interpretation of those things. I want to see like what our younger generation Springsteen would look like, you know what I mean? And like, or whatever it is, because I think that why would just using him as an example, why would that not hit for this generation more than anything? We're in a very similar circumstance with like where the world's at, where the working class is at, where music is at as a whole. And if it could just take a fresh perspective, I think that's huge. And I really feel like that's what that
you think we're even worse than we were off in the 70s and 80s. You think that we'd be even more,
100%
revolutionary. And I love Bruce. He's like one of my favorite guys. I think I got this hanging up right here.
Hell yeah.
Oh, baby.
Sick.
I mean, I think that like, I know a lot of people have different takes on him because of like when he came out or like what he, how he's progressed through, like the podcast with Obama's a little much, but like I think that like when you look at like that, his aesthetic, his vibe, everything about it just feels like it feels more relevant than ever right now. I'm sure that's why they're making, that movie or whatever, but it I don't know, it really hits me. What about like the recording process of the Ram stuff? Because I think it has a real kind of specific sound to it. There's that like I said, there's that shoegazy nature. I would never call it shoegaze by any stretch, but it has that like real fuzzy, almost hard to distinguish certain things. But it also allows things to cut through, like vocals or like solos or anything like that, while still feeling like a real big cohesive unit. Like what was like the recording process for you? Like what's that like? Is there also like a lot of intention that's going into how you want the sum total to sound?
Yeah, it's a very intentional recording process. When my first like music software, well, I guess not first, but when I fell in love with was Fruity Loops, and I would make like electronic music on it.
Sure.
And for whatever reason, I used that. I got my first copy of it, like a pirated copy from a friend when I was in 6th grade. And I used that.
No one has ever paid for Fruity Loops.
Well, I do now, but we'll get to that.
Well, yeah. It's a different world.
I used it all through high school, making like electronic music or just weird music with my friends. And then I started demoing rock music and applying kind of that same knowledge I had gained about making electronic music or like hip hop beats or whatever. I was just really all over the place, just trying to make anything because it was fun. And I became pretty knowledgeable with this software. And then I would use it for every band to make all the demos for recording the album. And I got to a point where I was like, man, I really like how the demos sound. Like, I feel like I figured out kind of like a sound using this particular programmed drum set and these particular settings on these particular plugins. And when it came to recording Ram, I was like, I just want this to be, I want to record it at home. And there's one Barry's record that I did the same way, but this one felt particularly like I was really applying this very specific, production that I've developed over the last, like, Jesus Christ, I don't know how long I've been using it. It's 2025, like 18 years or something. Like what all the knowledge I've gained, I've been able to like kind of create this like effect. And then when I recorded the Ram stuff, I think when I made the first couple, I was like, this is exactly what I want this to sound like. And it felt so. It's a lot of intention behind it because I get to do it myself, and somehow it's really hard when you're not a very, I don't know a lot about recording, but I know that I can make a recording sound how I want it to now after all the trial and error that I've done, and that feels good. And so it's being able to put that out there and think that there's very few people who I know or trust that I feel could make this sound more the way I want it to.
Yeah. It's got that real, there's a real like warmth and fuzzy, and it feels very worked on in a way, but it also feels big and live. And I don't think those two things often go hand in hand sound wise.
Yeah.
At least I don't hear it, because that's exactly in my lane of the stuff where whenever I was recording, I always wanted to have those two things in conjunction, and it's really difficult. You can get that sort of like sticky, Velcro-y, shoegazy kind of thing, but you can't make that sound live at the same time because it's so compressed down.
Right.
You've managed a way where it feels big and wide open, but also still has that furriness that I think is really cool. And I think that's why the sound feels so fresh, even though the hooks feel familiar.
Right. Well, hey, I'll get a master class going for this production style.
There you go. Yeah.
For this Fruity Loops.
Do you feel like it's actually locked in that much that it feels like? Because I think that like people recording their own music is, if more people did that, the better. I'm sure there's all this great collaboration that can happen and things like that in the studio. Obviously, I've seen it. I've worked through it. But at the same time, doing things yourself because you know how you want it. It came into you, like you're saying, when that idea pops up, you know how it sounded then, so that you can control the way that sounds is huge. Do you feel like you have sort of a workflow that is really uniquely yours inside of like Fruity Loops?
I feel like I must, because I've never really used. I'm pretty self-taught with the Fruity Loops. I've never really used a lot of YouTube tutorials, and I just have a lot of illegally downloaded expensive soft like plugins. And I never looked up. It's just like packs and packs of them, and I just kind of pick random ones, and I'm like, oh, this one sounds cool for this, and then I just kind of create a template. And you have these, these like little channels where you're plugging the recording into, and that recording's got. I usually just add a bunch of plugins, and once I get it sounding the way I like, I kind of save that as a preset.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm probably doing it in the worst possible, like, what's the word? Like, the least efficient way you could probably do it.
Sure.
But it probably is unique in that way. And that it's pretty efficient.
Exactly. I'd never want somebody to watch me use Logic, like, especially someone that knows how to use it.
Yeah.
Because they'd be like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. This is the way I've been doing it since I was a kid, and I don't know how to do it any different way. Yeah. And I've also not worked that hard at being better at it. So I just kind of keep doing one specific thing. But I'm like, I know how to get that sound. If you play something for me, I can get you mostly there. I just don't want you to watch me do it. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah.
Hey, I invite viewers. If anyone wants to come over and watch me record a song, you're not anyone, but
yeah, sure.
Anyone within reason.
Tighten up the invitation a little bit. Yeah, sure. That's cool, man. So like, so what's going, like, what's next for Ram? Are you working on a full release?
I think probably. I'm not sure. Maybe. I think that we'll see. I think we're working on some touring. That's the plan. We're playing 2 shows next month here in LA. I don't know when this comes out.
Awesome.
Thursday.
Oh, it comes out on Thursday. Great. Well, to the listeners, if you're in LA, we're playing on February 8th at Zebulon. It's a fire relief.
Cool.
Oh, great.
For the LA community. And it's with the band Rocket and Drag.
Oh, great. I saw Rocket here just recently.
Oh, really?
Great show.
Never seen him, so I'm excited. But I know the guys. Actually, I wait tables part-time, and I don't know if did I mention that? But anyways, I wait tables part-time, and when I used to work the breakfast shift there, I used to wait on those guys a lot. That's how
very cool.
That's kind of how I met them. But so that's we got a show coming up, and then working on new tunes and touring at some point. Where do you guys live?
We're in Boulder, Colorado.
Boulder.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't think I've ever
come on through.
But it's just such a Boulder, dude. But
yeah,
it's kind of. That is it. Yeah,
that's kind of it. I mean, here's the thing: a lot of tech has moved here at this point, so it's a little less.
More Boulder.
It's a little bit like what you said.
It's a little less cool. It's not as hippie as it used to be, but it's still.
There's just a specific dude from my high school that went to Boulder, and he's like, "Fuck, I'm going to Boulder, bro."
Listen, he's still around.
Fuck yeah.
Just to be clear, we're still breeding this type of guy.
His name's Bryler or something.
Yeah. You've named well, I feel like I know Bryler.
You know Bryler. That's the boy.
Yeah.
Comes through at the
party.
And
the thing is, he's a cool guy, but I don't want to hang out with him for over an hour.
No.
You like seeing him at a party.
Yeah, you get some drugs from him and move on.
Yeah.
He's got the stuff you need, and then you make a couple jokes, and he does things, and he's always cool with everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
Bryler.
Well, hell yeah, man. Well, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. This has been really cool. Like I said, we're legitimately huge fans. We've rinsed that record in here already, and we haven't even had it that long. So,
also, I want to say in regards to looking cool, I just want to say when you listen to the tunes and now having you on, you fit it perfectly in the best way.
Yeah.
I was not disappointed, so thank you for fitting the image, owning the aesthetic.
Yeah,
I got some Japanese jeans on too. So hey,
I saw those. What are those?
They're 90s 503Bs.
Okay.
They're kind of like a rare reproduction of some 50s ones. They have a big E on them. I don't know.
Oh, sick.
My friend gave me a
cool.
pair, and then they're kind of destroyed, and then I went on a huge hunt to find more of them. And they're kind of there's always one pair on eBay, and they're never my size, but
yeah. This is the world of vintage jeans is a nightmare, because once you find the thing that's for you, then you're just chasing that dragon. I've been doing this for years because I collect a very specific type of 505 that it's all a measurements game that I'm playing, and so I check it every other day, and I'm looking for a thing, and I've. You buy 1 million and half of them don't work, and it's just.
I'm an eBay hound for vintage clothing, so I understand.
eBay's the greatest online store that exists.
Fucking awesome.
Yeah, it rules. All right, man, dude. Well, depending on what you're working on or what you're touring, let's have you back or something soon. This has been really fun. It's been really cool to get to know you. Really fuck with the record. Is there any where do you want people to go and listen to it? What's the best place?
Well, if you have streaming services, you have to look up Ram 100 Million, because. I don't feel like explaining why, but that's why. It's not a choice I made willingly.
No, I understand.
But you can look it up, Ram 100 Million, and you'll find it a lot easier than you would had you just typed Ram.
Mm-hmm.
And we have an Instagram that's also called Ram 100 Million, and then my Instagram is Matthew Daniel Barry. And you'll find
you can buy the record too, right?
You can buy the record. Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
You can buy the record at assenup.bigcartel.com. I believe that's ASSNUP.bigcartel.com. Let me see if that works. Yeah. There it is, right there.
Yeah, dope. Okay, cool.
It's great, dude. Like I said, love the record. Love what you're working on. Loved your other stuff. So this is really cool, man.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, if you come through, just hit us up.
Yeah, if you're ever in Boulder,
I'm
visiting
coming
Breiler.
to Boulder.
Yeah,
my boy Breiler's been telling me it's fire out there. So.
Yeah, it is fire.
It's super dope out in Boulder.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, we'll talk soon,
All
okay?
right. Cheers, guys.
All right,
See
peace,
you,
man.
bro. Thank
Appreciate
you.
you.